I never really studied Chinese that seriously. I just moved there. And when I moved to China, I just went there. I didn't know any Chinese. I didn't know a single word of Chinese when I arrived in China, not even one word. So I was learning basically from people around me, asking questions, having people teach me. I remember on the second day, this is kind of a funny story. On the second, well, it's not funny, but it's a story. On the second day after I arrived in China, I'd never been to China before. I didn't even know ni hao, which is hello in Chinese. I knew nothing. And I arrived, I had a job as an English teacher at a center, had never taught English before in my life. I was 21 years old, 21 or 22, and the city I arrived in was called, still is called, Tianjin, right? So Tianjin is a very interesting city to live, maybe a little less interesting to visit, but a good city to live, good food, all of that stuff. And I didn't know anything, and so I had to spend a lot of my time by myself figuring stuff out. I learned to count. I learned how to count in Chinese, not from the internet, not from searching things online, but from people on the street showing me things one by one. So I would just have people, I would walk up to someone and I would show them an apple, and I would do this, an apple and this. This was by the way, I wasn't stressed about this. It wasn't a situation where I was like, oh my God, no, I don't know the language. I don't know anything. I'm so scared. It was like, ha ha ha, I'm going to figure out the language from talking to people. This is exciting. So I would go up to people and do, for example, this. And I would just use body language to get them to try to tell me what I wanted. And they would say, 一个. Slowly, okay, you learn. Okay, so this is the one. And then if you have a thing like an apple, then you're going to add a ge to it. And because then I would hear, for example, 三个. Okay, so ge is the constant thing. It's the thing that's being used to count it, right? Got that. Now, the thing that's changing here is that I have 1 or 3. So that must mean that, okay, so then you sort of slowly start to figure it out and pick it out over time. And I'm not saying my Chinese is great, but that was a very interesting process. And then you learn things like, I remember very early, I think it was in the first week, I had to figure out that sometimes 2 is R, and sometimes 2 is 两个. Like 两个 is 2 things, right? So figuring that out, like, wait a second, sometimes 2 is this word, and sometimes 2 is that word. Huh. So if you're counting the amount of things, but if it's the floor of a building, then you wouldn't say 2楼, you'd say 2楼, second floor. Okay, so figuring all this stuff out at the very beginning was so interesting and so exciting. But I never or rarely ever sat down and said, all right, now it's time for me to study a vocabulary list. I learned everything that I learned, even if it was limited, as a baby learns. Just listening, practicing, imitating. And I mean, my pronunciation's not great. My vocabulary is not great still, but that process of learning like a baby from the environment, listening, figuring things out, trying to copy and imitate, it's a fascinating process. If you ever have the chance to do that, it's fun. But because of that, basically, my Chinese writing is non-existent. So because I never very seriously would sit down and study Chinese, it was all just sort of listening, trying to communicate. But still a lot of fun. And if you're learning a language, I think it's good to have that piece of it there. Now, if you're seriously learning a language, I never really set out to learn or master Chinese as a language. It just happened to be that I was living there and, well, you got to know some Chinese. That's a fact. So if you're setting out to master, for example, English, you have to have that component there, that baby component where you're just trying to figure things out. You're asking questions. You're not afraid. You jump into situations. You try to imitate. You learn words that you don't know how to say in your language. There's so many Chinese dishes, for example, like jianbing. I don't know how to say that in English. I don't know. But it doesn't matter because it's a Chinese thing. So I only need to know how to say it in Chinese. And that's fine. Why do you need to know how to say that in your language. There's a tendency among language learners to say, all right, let me learn all of the words I need to learn in my language. With a list, sitting down. That's fine. That's good. I'm not discouraging people from sitting down and studying words and making sentences and learning how to write. All good. All good. But if you have that piece of it where you're jumping into situations and sort of not afraid of looking like an idiot, and you're trying to learn things as people really use them in daily life, that's a very important component, especially when you're developing your spoken language skills. And again, I'm no expert, but that's my experience, and that was a great experience for me. I will always value that experience for sure.